I'm waiting at the back of my class for my teacher to set up the PowerPoint slides for my speech on teenage pregnancy. It's a grade 11 English speech that we have to do 25% of our grade in front of a class of about 25 people. And of all the topics to pick, everyone else has picked normal topics. Drugs, crime, and I have gone and picked teenage pregnancy. The teacher says, "Ivor, it's time," and I'm shocked out of my paralysis and I have to walk up stiff as a board to the front of the room where I'm gonna present. And I look out at the crowd and the nerves just hit me. I'm like, how am I gonna do this? Why have I picked such a stupid topic and why have I prepared so terribly? I'm gonna get judged terribly. And I put up my PowerPoint slides, right? Like I click on the slides. The first one is now on the board. And the second the PowerPoint flickers to life, this girl sitting about 2 rows in front of me, dead in the middle of my vision, starts cackling at the topic I've picked. Like, cannot stop laughing, trying to like cover her face and everything, but just is laughing so hard. And I'm like, oh God, I knew it was gonna be bad, but I didn't know I was gonna get judged this badly. But I take some deep breaths because I have to do this presentation. It's 25% of my grade, right? Like I can't not do it. I have to do it, and I have to do it well because we're getting marked on the, our presentation skills like I am presenting right now. So I managed to focus all my effort on the camera in front of me because this is of course being recorded, and I ignore the crowd. I pretend they're not there and I focus on my grades and delivering this speech just like I practiced. This helps a little bit, but I still find myself being distracted by this girl who's now burst into a second fit of laughter. Don't know what she was on that day. Anyway, I remind myself that, hey, she's probably laughing at the topic. Ignore this stuff, by the way, we'll come to that. She's probably laughing at the topic, right? Teenage pregnancy. She's not necessarily laughing at me. And if she is laughing at me, she's not really judging me, right? Like, we're kind of friends. So I remember that, and that makes me feel a bit better. I start to smile a little bit. I start to loosen up. So the girl manages to stop laughing, and I put my hands on the podium, awkwardly, stiffly, but more relaxed than I was. And I start to give the speech. And 5 minutes later, I'm finished. And I say, thank you for listening. And everyone starts clapping. And I walk back to my seat and I sit down. And it's like, it's like the best relief you've ever felt. You guys know this feeling. And I'm like, yes, I did it. I did this whole speech. I think I did it pretty well. Even with all that other stuff, all the judgment that I was probably getting, I managed to do it. And I managed to do it pretty well. And about a month passes and I'm about to get my grades. It took a month because my English teacher decided she had better things to do than mark. But anyway, she puts the paper down in front of me. I open it up and I see that I have got a C, but I've got good marks for the communication part. Obviously my speech was terrible, like the content of my speech was not good because I didn't have time to do it well, but the marks for my presentation skills, my, how relaxed I was, how I varied my tone, how I looked at the audience, all that stuff was good. And that's really the bit where the nervousness was threatening to damage it, but I managed to do well. So clearly I did something right in this case, right? So with all the anxiety and unconfidence I had in grade 11 combined with the terrible circumstances of giving this speech, how did I manage to do so well? Looking back, what I did was I unknowingly fixed my perception, which is one of the issues that generally causes lack of confidence. So what happens is some stuff happens in the world, right? We give a speech or whatever, and we experience what is happening. And then we make a judgment based on that about how other people think of us. Now, the bit where we go from what is actually happening and what we experience to be happening, or what people actually think and what we think they think, is really subjective and is influenced by our past experiences, and we tend to fall into habits. So, someone who has been recently mauled by a dog, if they see a dog running towards them, they're going to be scared. They're going to think that the dog is after them. So, the event is the same, a dog running towards them. The experience is that they're going to get attacked even if the dog is friendly, whereas someone else who hasn't been mauled by a dog might see the dog running towards them and think, oh, it's a friendly dog, it's coming to say hi. The exact same thing applies for what we think people think of us. So when I was giving that speech, yes, the person was laughing, that was something that happened, but there's lots of different ways you could interpret that. It could be that they're laughing at the slides behind me and not saying, oh, ha ha ha, I was such a loser. There's lots of different ways you could interpret it. And when you're not confident, you tend to interpret things in a more negative way. So you might think, oh, they're laughing at me, therefore they don't like me. Instead of, oh, they're laughing at the screen, but they actually still do like me. Another way to fix confidence is just to not care if people don't like you. So you might still have the messed up perception where you think everyone's out to get you and doesn't like you, but then you just don't care. But the easier way to become confident is to fix this perception. There's a couple different ways to fix this perception, which I'm going to go over, which I did in this story. The first one is to stop using this perception so often. So stop evaluating whether people like you or don't like you as frequently. The second way is to actually fix the perception, which I'll give you the process on how you can do that, and also give you like a quick like head start. I'll give you a mindset shift. So the first thing, how do we stop evaluating what people think of us so frequently? We do this by thinking about something else, basically focusing on other things. So in the speech, I mentioned that I was focusing on my grades and I was focusing on the camera rather than the crowd, just thinking about what I'd rehearsed and delivering my speech. You can do this in other situations as well. If you're at a social event, you can focus on getting to know people rather than constantly thinking, have I made any friends? Does everyone here like me? All that stuff. You can also focus on the activity at hand. If you're playing soccer or something as a way to meet people, you can focus on playing soccer. Crazy, right? It's really just putting conscious effort into thinking, catching ourselves when we're thinking about whether people like us, and pushing that out of our mind and thinking about other things. Okay, so now that we don't have to experience this skewed perception as often, that's good, but how do we actually fix it? How do we fix the root issue? We do this by reflecting after a social event or after we feel we've been judged or whatever. We get out your journal and start writing what happened, what we think they thought of us at the time, and then is there anything else they could be thinking of us? And this is really strengthening the positive areas of the brain. So let's say this area of the brain here is responsible for interpreting stuff in a negative way. So this is like thinking people are judging us. This area of the brain is like thinking people are like us and all that stuff. When you just journal and write stuff out, practice thinking in a positive. When you just journal after stuff and practice thinking in a positive way, this area of the brain grows. So over time, when you're actually in social situations, you won't think people are judging you all the time. But you might be thinking, if I do that too far and I think that everyone likes me all the time, maybe I'm going to be all obnoxious and just loud and talk too much. Well, I don't think so. I think the talking too much comes from insecurity and it comes from trying to fill every silence. It's either a confidence thing or it's lacking conversational skills. It's not from thinking people like us too much. Now, what's this mindset shift I was talking about? So when you do this, you are going to strengthen this positive part of your brain. You're also going to come up with thought patterns or like mindsets that help you come up with these positive things, kind of. So an example of a mindset, and this is the one that I reminded myself of in this story when I was giving my speech, I reminded myself, hey, they're probably not laughing at me, they're probably laughing at the speech, right? So really the whole mindset is people notice funny things and weird, unusual things. So for example, if you see someone trip over in public, I know I probably would look over at them and giggle a little bit, right? That doesn't mean I'm judging them. I'm definitely not thinking any less of them as a person. So this is a mindset shift. Remember that when people look at you, or they laugh at you, or they give you a funny look, they're really just noticing something unusual or something funny. That doesn't mean they're judging who you are as a person. So once you start doing these things, you should become fearless when it comes to any kind of socializing, and that will make you more charismatic. Now, if you want another video that doesn't just cover this perception part, but also they're just not caring what people think of you, then I've got another video on that just here.